Hi, welcome back to another episode of Title Talk with Title Leap. I am James Brown, a Florida real estate attorney.
And I am David, Chief Development Officer for Title Leap.
Today we're going to talk about offers, commissions, and white-hot sellers markets. Rising prices and sellers list their property, let's just say at $400,000, and they get offers at $405 and $410 and $415 quickly. The first thing they say is, can I relist the property at $440?
Correct. So, I guess good question is, does a seller have to accept a full price offer?
The answer would be generally no, but they may owe a selling agent commission under the listing agreement. Some listing agents are getting really clever and they're putting in their listing agreements a clause that says, in the event of a full price offer, the seller has to sign the full price offer.
Okay.
But even those can get difficult to enforce because once the seller digs in their heels, it could be a situation where they're going to litigate or something like that. And
right.
It is still tough. But if you do include those clauses, I have seen situations where the sellers do in fact sign the full price offer
right.
when maybe they wouldn't if that clause wasn't there.
Right, gotcha. So now, can a seller accept an offer that is less than the highest offer, whether it's above or below the asking price?
Yep, generally yes. So the rule is that no one can force a seller to close. So an offer contains many different terms, and even if the dollar value is the highest on one offer, but the seller likes the closing date on another offer, they can accept the lower priced offer.
Okay. So that being said, is a seller agent due a commission if the seller doesn't sign a full price offer?
So in most Florida listing agreements, yes. Most standard Florida listing agreements say if a full price offer comes in and the seller refuses to sign up with that offer, then the seller has to pay the commission to the seller's agent.
Okay, so in that scenario, would the procuring buyer's agent be due a commission if the seller refused to sign that full price offer?
That's where it gets tricky. Alright, so generally, no. So you get a full price offer and the seller and the seller's agent settle up and the listing was for $400 and they pay the commission on $400 to the seller's agent. Generally speaking, the buyer's agent has no right to that commission unless the closing actually happened. And if the closing doesn't happen at $400, that buyer's agent has no right to the commission. However, this should not be confused with the provision in most standard Florida listing agreements that says, in the event of buyer's default, if the seller retains deposits, then the seller is going to split them with the seller's agent. And that's if the seller retains deposits.
So the
seller doesn't have to retain deposits,
right.
And the seller doesn't have to. But the seller's agent may have a right to demand them if they do retain them. Now we know in practical reality,
right.
A seller's agent might say, hey, you keep the deposits, we'll make it up in the next deal.
Right, exactly. We'll try to relist it for said higher price.
But let's just say they did decide to put some money in the seller's agent's pocket.
Right.
Then under the FarBar agreement, then the seller's agent and the buyer's agent agreed that if the seller pockets any deposits, then the buyer's agent has a right to 50% of those deposits.
If the seller's agent pockets any part of that.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
the seller's agent. So
Gotcha.
The seller's agent, the buyer defaults,
Mm-hmm.
the seller agrees I'm going to pay the seller's agent some money,
Yep.
and then under the FarBar agreement, the buyer's agent can say, hey, seller's agent, I get 50% of that money.
Gotcha.
It's kind of a third-party beneficiary thing. Could be tough to enforce, but
Right.
that's what everybody agreed to, so that the buyer's agent wasn't left out in the cold.
Right.
If in fact the seller's agent got some money.
So like now in this world of multiple offers and offers coming from everywhere possible,
Yeah.
is there any law that requires a buyer or seller to communicate an offer or rejection or anything like that?
No. If they're negotiating, they're going to have to communicate an acceptance,
Mm-hmm.
but the seller's agent and the seller do not have to communicate a rejection.
Right, and they don't necessarily have to negotiate with every offer that comes in as well.
They do not.
Okay.
They can stand silent, they can respond to one person, or they can even respond to multiple people simultaneously, but that can create other issues because they could be tied into multiple contracts.
Right. So now, in scenarios like that, I know in the past that, I've known certain agents to possibly say, hey, we have multiple offers, please respond with your highest and best by such a date.
Yep.
Yeah, so.
And that's perfectly lawful.
Yep.
And the seller could actually take the lower of those offers.
Right.
And I get calls from the seller's agents that say, wait a minute, we offered $415 and they took $405.
Right.
But that's all lawful. And one thing to remember is, if you do make an offer, that offer can be revoked anytime until the person receiving the offer accepts it. So if you make an offer and you want to bring it back, you just send a writing that says the offer is revoked.
Gotcha.
I think that just about exhausts everything we had on the table for today.
Yep.
Tune in next week when we're going to do another title talk with Title Leap, and the topic will be another thrilling realtor tool to keep you guys efficient and productive.
Thank you.